Hey guys, this is Eric Broadus back again with another video. And today what I want to discuss with you is counting the cost. The name of this video is going to be called Count the Cost. And what brought this idea to my mind was that in every endeavor and every decision or goal that we choose to make, we have to make considerations of exactly what exactly is it going to cost us in terms of time, effort, and resources. Some of the things I think about with goals in my own life in counting the cost was my education. At this current time, I have a master's degree in business administration, and I've taken a leave of absence from my doctorate. But before I considered pursuing this goal or dream, I had to count the cost. Now, in my case, I had military benefits to pay for my education, with the exception of the doctorate. The doctorate, that I have to pay out of pocket, but I have to consider and count the cost. What is it going to cost me to accomplish a doctorate degree in business? Well, for one thing, it's going to cost me time. Second, it's also going to cost me finances, money. So you're either paying for cash, or you're going to take student loans, which in the future, depending when you decide to pay it off, you're still going to accrue interest on that loan for taking that student debt out. So those are two things. The other thing to be considered is sacrifice. In pursuing any goal or dream that's worthwhile, there's always going to be some form of sacrifice. And that sacrifice is going to cost you some time. It means that you may have to give up a good portion of your social life because you have to study. And unlike, with other degrees, you're obviously going to have exams, but once you hit the doctorate level, you're basically dealing with a thesis, but you have a small margin of error. But that's just in the example of education. If you consider relationships, or even marriage, you have to count the cost. What exactly is it going to cost you to have a relationship, to be married long term? What are the costs? There are, in being married, there are different costs. Definitely, it's going to be the sacrifice of your time and becoming one with another person. Another, obviously, is going to be finances. Finances is going to be a huge issue because you're taking on, I guess you could say, more responsibility, or the two have to, get those things sorted out. Another cost is going to be giving up the single life. When you get married, you basically give up the I, for us or for we. And if you take a look at the even at the divorce rate, in today's times that we're living in, many people obviously did not count the cost or consider what it would cost them when they decided to marry the person that they married. Because once they got in that relationship or that marriage, they found out it was a different ball game, and you can tell that obviously, they didn't consider or count the cost of what it would take to stay married to that individual, or make certain compromises or certain sacrifices of themselves for the betterment of the whole. Count the cost. That's even biblically taught, by Jesus. When he talks about explaining to his disciples in a parable about being a man of war. If they're going to go out and have an army, then they have to consider exactly how much manpower or ammunition, whatever it is that they need in order to win this battle. And too many times in this life, we don't consider the cost before we make certain decisions. There's an old saying that talks about look before you leap. Look before you leap. the grass isn't always green on the other side, and everything is not as it always appears. So when we decide to make any major decision, whether it be life decisions or if it's goals, we have to weigh it out and consider what exactly is it going to take in order for me to make this dream a reality. You know, what exactly is it going to cost? Because I've discovered, and I'm quite sure many of you have, anything that is worthwhile, it is always going to cost you something. When it is said to us that in this life there is nothing free, and I found that to be true. Anything worthwhile, there is nothing free. There's always a price to pay. If you're going to be a great athlete, you have to count the cost. You know, how many man hours spent in practice, you know, how many hours spent in the gym doing drills or getting yourself in shape. The cost of being an athlete is also your diet. You know, when others maybe are indulging in different types of foods, or maybe certain types of alcohol or whatever, sugary foods, the world-class athlete, they have to make certain sacrifices to keep their bodies in shape and in prime condition so that they can have the best performance that they can in their particular sport. As a businessman or a business owner or an entrepreneur, what is the cost? How much time and effort and resources have to be sacrificed in order to make a business successful? There's nothing free. And if we don't learn to count the cost before we get involved in something or we embark on an endeavor, what'll happen is that we'll start out like a ship setting out to sail, and it'll crash because we didn't count the cost, and we don't have the endurance to complete, you know what I'm saying, what we started. Whenever going after something worthwhile, you have to think in a sense long term. It's always going to be a price, and there'll never be anything free, and that goes along with relationships. That is true in business, even at your job. If you're going to be the best in your profession, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to count or consider the cost. What is it that I have to give up in order to attain? There's always a trade-off. And you know, I've listened to different panels. I've listened to a podcast with O'Shea Duke Jackson. It was a business podcast, and there were successful entrepreneurs and business owners, and they talked about the sacrifices that they had to make. And some of the guys were married, some were single, but the sacrifices that they have to make. And even in terms of being successful and accomplishing goals, when you choose a life partner or a marriage partner, you have to be on one accord, because if you and your partner are not on one accord, then that could greatly hinder your progress, or it can definitely sink it. It can hinder you from accomplishing your goal, or it may not be accomplished at all. Yeah, I'm in the park out here with the kids around having fun, but you have to count the cost. You have to count the cost. There's always a price. If you're going to be a good parent, there is a cost. That means that you have to sacrifice of yourself and pour in to your children so that they can get where they need to be, or so they can turn out to be the best that they can be and have the best chance possible in this life. Count the cost. Education. You know, what is it going to cost you to pursue that education? Is that degree, or is that trade, or that skill set that you're learning, is it worthwhile? Because you never want to start off on a goal or something that's worthwhile and that's going to take so much from you, but then once you get in it, once you get started on your goal or your journey, then you find out that it's tougher than what you thought it was, and you weren't prepared, and so now you're unable to complete what you started, and you wasted all that time, all that energy, and all those resources gone to waste. So like I say it again, you know, saying count the cost on anything that's going to be worthwhile. Count the cost. You know, if you're going to attempt certain goals, you know, do some research. You know, write out a list of something. Figure out exactly what it is that you desire and also what it is that you're getting into, because anything worthwhile, it will always cost you something. Anything of value is going to cost you something. So you have to be prepared to pay that price. And for many of us, some of us are wise and we make the right decisions. We consider what it costs and we stay the course. Also, in terms of counting the cost, you have to be willing to endure and see it through until the end if you're going to be rewarded. You don't want to start something and you can't finish it. But that's pretty much all I have for today. This is a short video. You know, count the cost. Always count the cost, because anything worthwhile, you can best believe, and it's guaranteed, it will always cost you something. So guys, please like the video, unlike the video, leave comments, share, and please subscribe. And those that are subscribed, please tap the bell so you can get future subscriptions. Thanks guys for your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Thanks guys.